Call the meeting to order. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Watson?
Here.
Lynch?
Here.
Euring?
Yes.
Kish. We're all here.
Okay. We have before you the minutes from the March 24th meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the March 24th meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay. Lynch?
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
And
Euring?
yes.
Sorry.
Okay. See what we have here. Bills. You have
Yep.
you have before you the financial report and the payment of payments of items on the payment listing.
We had 3 weeks off, so there seems like there's a lot, but
That doesn't seem like that many.
pretty standard.
Glaring here.
I wanted to
That Cargill, is that our salt, Kevin?
do, yes.
That's the end of it.
That's the end of it. Okay.
Give me 1 second here. The report I printed only for April and not for the year to date, so let me give you some numbers here. Go with the financials. I don't want to print it. I want to display it. Sorry. Our expenditures for the year are $337,631.48, and our revenue for the year is $725,244.05.
Okay.
But we did receive our first half property tax settlement came in for, I can't remember what that was exactly, the amount, but that just got entered, so it looks much better than where we were at.
Okay. Is that included in the figures that are
Well, I printed it, this is only April, so I'm sure that the number is in
The-
here for April, yes, but
Okay, I don't show it coming up under revenue, but looks like the numbers are up, so I would
yeah, I can
think
print you,
that-
I'll print you the one that I should have
But
printed.
my question is, this includes our, okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yes, and out of those funds, and we had a investment come due, so I reinvested with another MBS securities for $250,000, and then I put $275 of what we received into STAR.
And those are like at 4% for the CD, I
Yes,
believe.
yes, 4% and whatever, and that's right around where I think STAR is right now. But I needed to work on the ladder and get some out.
Understood.
Nice.
Glad you're doing it. And
Thank
keep
you.
it so that
It's
it flows
fun.
in like that versus all in
It's
one.
something. Good. Okay.
But I wanted to get more money into STAR, so.
Yeah, that gives you more flexibility, especially when the rates are the same, but it's a matter of locking in. So those, I think, were the callable CDs.
Right,
it's
but,
hard.
with the STAR, we have a larger portion invested, so that makes us more money.
Yeah, it's just that STAR is a shorter term, and it'll tend to be more responsive to what the market is in the CDs. They just ticked up a little bit here recently.
Yes, I was
What's
surprised
going
at
on.
4.
Yeah, well, that's because of what's going on the national stage and world stage. Okay, thanks, Chris.
So that's the financials.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Any other questions or comments on the financial reports and the bills? If there are no other questions or comments, I would make a motion to approve the financial reports and payment of items on the payment listings as specified in documents provided by the fiscal officer.
Second.
Discussion? No further discussion. Roll call?
Euring,
Yes.
Watson.
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Okay.
I do have a couple of things correspondence-wise under the, my report. We did receive an email from the auditor today and also confirmation that the real estate reimbursement that we talked about at the last meeting or the one before was deposited this afternoon. The confirmation included an email that fiscal officers should ask our board and/or legal counsel where to post these funds. They cannot advise on that. We received $3,148.14.
How much was it?
$3,148.14.
Oh, it was more than that. You had the figures at the last meeting.
That is what we received.
Okay.
And that was the what?
The reassessment reimbursement.
Okay. Okay, out of that $2 million, or that they said they
Yes.
came up with, okay.
Yes.
All right.
So I don't know if we just put that in.
At this, anything else, Chris?
I think, I don't know if this was under correspondence, but Trustee Lynch had asked me a couple of meetings ago, about a few then a couple, regarding the opioid grant monies that we had received, and I sent a spreadsheet to all of you regarding the opioid settlement funds. So if you want to run with that, Neil.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And there's copies in the packets for the trustees. And Jeremy, some of this is more for your knowledge of what's going on with these settlement funds. All of the local political subdivisions had the opportunity to apply for these funds. They didn't have to. Most municipalities did and villages did. Of the townships, I don't know if any other township in Lorraine County besides Amherst Township did apply for them. There may have been some. I had lobbied at the Lorraine County Township Association that they do apply for them based on the work session that was provided by the Ohio Township Association at the winter conference in 2022. But I know some of them just didn't want to deal with it. I think some of them didn't understand it and what it was going to be. But my biggest position in saying you need to apply for these so that you're in the position of deciding how those funds are used. The funds can be used for prevention, treatment, recovery, or law enforcement. If you don't apply for them, by default, they go to the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners. The Lorraine County Board of Commissioners at that time had a significant amount of funding available because of COVID and ARPA and the whole bit, and now they're suffering from that hangover. And many of the townships chose not to, and I can understand the rural townships being smaller, it's just such a small amount, and they may not even have the organizations or school systems within their communities to even use the funds. But the larger ones, I would have thought, would want to do it, because the suspicion was the county gets a hold of these, it's all going to go 100% law enforcement. And which is an eligible expense and something we need, but there's also, you got to remember the prevention, treatment, and recovery, and especially treatment and recovery, which is getting the lowest amount. Now, the amount that went to the local entities was only 30% of the total in the settlement, which is paid over 18 years. What Chris had provided is, to date, and we applied in 2022, I don't think we received things probably till like 2023, maybe, Chris. And you can see some of these settlements, we haven't received anything yet, but you will, so it'll come in at different times. But there's $13,267 sitting there now. The auditor directed the Ohio State Auditor that we had to put it in the general fund, but we have to keep it separate. So I assume, and I talked with Chris earlier, get an account, keep that separate so it's only used for eligible expenses. We have not expended anything yet because we wanted to see, well, what are we receiving? How much, because there were estimates put out there, but until you see the money, you don't know what you're going to get. So now we've got this amount. It'll still, if we give it a few more years, we might see, okay, now we're seeing on an annual basis, what are we really receiving? And so I put an email together, which you've got a copy here, and it was sent to you, trying to give some history on these funds and where they could be used. And then what I was suggesting, I put in 4 reasons. Maybe we want to wait a year, 1 to 3 years, so that you start receiving it from all of those that settled, so we get more predictability as to what are we talking about in funds. Also to give the trustees an opportunity to determine, well, how do you want to use them? When we first applied, I had mentioned we could use it for possibly funding the resource officer, which again is law enforcement, but they work in our schools. For Amherst Township, we have 4 school systems, plus JVS. Well, then you look at, we would probably, if we went that route, default to Firelands and Amherst, since that's where most of the students come from. The Oberlin and Elyria portion's a smaller portion, and, JVS, I don't know how many are out there. Obviously, we have them there. We've also got private schools. We've got St. Peter's, and religious affiliate. We've got St. Peter's. We've got St. Joe's. We got some people might go to Elyria Catholic. I know we've got some go to Magnificat. Don't know if we have St. Edward's unless they're wrestlers from our area. But again, the trustees would have to decide, is that even the consideration? For the resource officer, you could give it specifically to the sheriff only for a DARE program, which is in prevention. If you really wanted to go, I thought at the time, for recovery, is that in treatment, well, at that time, LACADA, which used to be called Lorraine County Alcohol and Drug Abuse, would be the natural location. They changed what that acronym stood for, but basically was treating the same group of people and families dealing with that. A difficulty, and I'll explain in a minute, that's happened since then, is LACADA and the Nord Center, and the Nord Center was predominantly mental health, though they did deal with those that had comorbidities. But since that time, those 2 organizations have merged and formed Rivian. So that kind of took away that easy part. Then we've got, obviously, Mental Health and Addiction Recovery Services Board, which administers all the levy funds that are currently provided through tax dollars. So that was another option. The Auditor of State determined, unlike some things Chris has to watch, she just talked about investments. On some things, if she invests something, it has to go right back to that fund that originally came from. Not the case here. It'll go to the general fund, and the Auditor of State has already said those earnings, and in this case, what we have today, based on current rates, would be a little over $700. But they don't have to go for the original intent opiate. It can just go to your general fund use. That's already been ruled on. Which is another reason it's a small piece, but some reason why you might want to delay things on here, though we certainly have the option to put those toward the opiate funds. It'd just be coming out of you'd have to be cautious that you're not using general funds for something that we don't have the authority to expend money on. Well, the difficulty, the easiest thing for us would have been give it to LACADA, but now since they've merged, I'm in this funny situation that I serve on the board of Rivian. I previously served on the board of the Nord Center, and the last point when the Nord Center was in existence was the president of their board. So I was concerned that for me to have any input on the direction of this might be a conflict of interest. I've contacted the prosecutor's office, who will give me a written response. And I did tell the prosecutor's office I could certainly contact the Ethics Commission, which I've done in the past, and get an answer, and they're usually quick to respond. But sometimes I wonder, they're so quick, are they really given a research, and they give you generally a verbal. I'm sure if I ask for a written opinion, they grudgingly give it to me, but their response is so quick sometimes, I'm wondering, are they that knowledgeable and receive that many requests on a particular issue, or is it just get it off their plate as fast as they can, whereas I know the prosecutor's going to look at it. My gut, I feel I'm probably going to be told that's a conflict. So it's going to come up to you
Yeah,
and
you
David.
can abstain, and David and I can make
I'll
a
actually
decision.
recuse myself
Yeah.
and just get out of the way.
Okay.
And that's, I can't even be here. To me, it'd be hard or difficult to say, you know what, we want to use it for, say, a school resource officer or some other special program, which then I could enter into. But how do you have that discussion without looking at the overall? So I will wait till I get that written opinion from the prosecutor's office, but I'm leaning towards I probably will not be able to be part of that discussion because of my service as a board member of Rivian.
Yeah, we can dig into it, but I definitely like that idea of, I mean, either way, we're not doing anything hands-on, we're writing a check, basically, correct, to another
Yes.
organization.
Yeah, well, that's what you have to decide.
I
Yes, we're
think
not
what we have
putting
to
anything.
decide is what's appropriate.
Yeah, and if
What's appropriate for those funds.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to have to make a decision
Yeah,
on.
Rivian seems like a clean place. If they can use the funds and they're responsible with it, we write one check. I'm okay with that. I would probably say if we're getting interest off that money, we should probably keep that money in the same account instead of funneling it in the general fund. And it might make sense, yeah, to give it a couple of years, that could make sense too. But yeah, if we could talk to them
I
and
think
see.
that the drugs have done a lot of damage.
Oh,
and-
terrible,
and,
terrible.
Anything that you can get to help to mitigate that, I think it should stay in the mitigation, to mitigate the problems that were caused by it. I really feel that sincerely, so you keep it in the drug rehabilitation area, because drug prevention area.
And yeah, if there's a contact at Rivian I could get a hold of and just see exactly, like, hey, if we're writing you guys a check, what exactly is this going for, just so we can see some transparency on it as well.
Just realize that whichever way you guys go, I'll support it. I may not necessarily agree with it, but I'll support it. But I may have to step
Okay.
out of all discussion. So I just want you to be aware of that. I don't have the information yet from the prosecutor's office, but I started the
Okay.
process.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, generally, we have our welcome, and there's no one in the audience at this time. So we will move to our next item on the agenda, which is correspondence and announcements. Do you have anything, Jeremy, to bring up under correspondence or announcements?
Just briefly, I did get a call from the Chronicle regarding the road levy. I just stressed that it is a renewal, that nobody's asking for new taxes, that we have a very hardworking and dedicated road department that's sufficient with the money, and that the funds are critical for us to maintain infrastructure. So just
Keep going with what we're doing.
exactly.
That's what my guess was. Announcement. Do you have anything to bring up, Neil, under correspondence or announcements at
Yeah.
this time?
Yeah, some of these, you might already have some down on the agenda here, David, based on when you called me for items to put on the agenda. I wasn't at home, but you know that on April 28th at 7:30, we will have the jet area expansion public hearing.
Yes, I've got that under there. I got the
Okay.
jet under there.
Then on March 27th, and Linda took care of this, just be aware, I had asked at the last meeting, I'd let you know I'd put an inquiry in to Don Romankek at the Stormwater District, what the status was on our mini grant application. Well, he assured me it was approved, and on March 27th, they sent the MOU for the Deepwood Lane catch basins, and Linda, I believe, has already taken care of that, and she might have been planning to report on that today anyway. On April 4th, I met with Eaton Township Trustee Sabrina Burrington. They saw what Amherst Township was able to do with the railroad quiet zone. They obviously want to do something very similar. They've got 5 railroad crossings, just like we did. I think they still should may have to work with one or two adjoining communities, but those are right within their township. Ours was a little different. We had Brownhelm Township, City of Amherst, Elyria Township, City of Elyria, and the county all involved, and we were very fortunate. And it also helped with some residents that both from the township and the city that were very supportive. And then Mayor Costello was very helpful, and Bob Kleiber at the engineer's office for the county. And then she's now, I think Kathy McKillips might be their assistant or second in command in engineering in Elyria. They keep flip-flopping depending upon John Schneider's their engineer, but I'm sure the two of them both work hand in hand. It just depends what administration's in power at any given year, but she was supportive. And I know Vermillion, mayor at the time, wanted to become part of it. We had to cut that out though because their crossing was more difficult. They weren't that far along. And ultimately, Elyria knows they'll have to continue on their own if they want to do additional crossings. They had a problematic crossing, but they at least put the steps in place to continue that, where they would actually have a railroad crossing, a railroad quiet zone, basically from Brownhelm Township up through Cleveland on this particular track. But I'm hoping that with the Sabrina Burrington and the residents from Eaton Township, I don't get called anymore, but I've given them the right contacts and a ton of information to go through. Let them know, though we were discouraged by other entities in the past how difficult it was. We got it done in less than a year, but it helped with some real dedicated residents. She had a large group of residents really excited about it, but they live very close to those tracks too. I did suggest they've got a lot of development going on in Eaton Township, and suggested, since she will need her trustees to commit to funding, because that's another issue, it's not free, but gave her what our costs were and suggested, hey, you might want to talk with these developers. It's going to help their developments to get this in, and maybe they'll help contribute and work with the prosecutor, make sure everything's okay on that. So, but I just want you to be aware that's going on. We've got the Sandstone Joint Ambulance District. We'll be meeting on April 30th at 11 o'clock at the Amherst Fire Department.
Which day is that?
Is April 30th.
That's when the ambulance district is
Right,
going.
Sandstone Joint Ambulance District Board meeting at 11 o'clock, Amherst Fire Department. We already talked about the One Ohio opioid settlement. I'm not sure if you have it on here. I know we talked about it. The Lorraine County Board of Commissioners will have on their agenda for May 8th, tentatively, the annexation of the 65.26 acres from Amherst Township to the city of Elyria for the Lulo LLC owned property, and we know that's actually Sharon Riccardi. So May 8th is there. I've been in touch with our legal counsel on that, and short of David, it's up to you and Jeremy if you want an executive session on that or not. If we did, it'd be more just to bring Jeremy up to date, because you've missed the previous discussion we had with that as to what was going on. Our legal counsel has indicated they could be at our next meeting at 7 o'clock. So you might want to put that down, David, at the next meeting, that we definitely will be having an executive session, but...
Okay, will Barb be there?
Yes.
Okay, ambulance, okay. Board. And then on the 28th, we're going to have an executive session with Barb.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
But I'll leave it up to you if you want anything tonight. And then finally, the Lorraine County subdivision regulations meeting on April 30th also. Will be the special planning commission meeting on those updated regulations. As I've stated before, the major change here is the melding of the county engineers regulations with county subdivision regulations, so that, you know, just making it easy to do business so people aren't getting bounced back and forth between groups, and also eliminate where there were conflicts between the two different regulations. So again, that'll be on April 30th that is actually, I thought they had 2 meetings, but it's at 3:50 p.m. and that'll be in the county administration building.
All right.
And the final item is Lorraine County Township Association meeting. That will be on April 16th at Carlisle Township, and it's going to be more just an open discussion as to what townships would do if property, how they would continue to exist and fund services if property taxes are eliminated, which are obviously the main funding source for townships. And that's the end.
All right. Well, I have one piece of correspondence which I would like to read. Pursuant to Section 709.023 of the Ohio Revised Code, please take notice that on April 6, 2026 at 10:27 p.m., the undersigned as agent for Lulo LLC filed a petition for a Type 2 expedited annexation to annex 65.2559 acres of property, having been assigned Lorraine County permanent parcel number 05000710000073 and 050009000024 from Amherst Township to the city of Elyria. A true and accurate copy of the petition that was filed with the Lorraine County Board of Commissioners, together with all attachments or documents accompanying the petition for annexation, is attached here too. And John D. Clark, agent, 5 South Main Street, Suite 100, Oberlin, Ohio. Okay, that is the notice of filing of an annexation for the Lulo/Riccardi property. That's all I have under correspondence. Under announcements, possibly to reiterate, the Lorraine County Solid Waste Consortium meeting will be Wednesday, April 15th at 5:30 p.m. at the Lorraine County Sustainable Learning Center at the Collection Center. That's coming up. I will attend that. As was stated earlier, the Lorraine County Township Association will have a special meeting/work session on Thursday, April 16th at 7 p.m., I believe at Carlisle Township, to discuss property taxes and what would happen if they were eliminated. Coming up on April 28th at 7:30 p.m., we have the JED Amendment public hearing. And as you stated earlier, on the 30th of April, the ambulance board will meet. And what time is that meeting at?
11 o'clock.
11 a.m. Is that the fire station?
Yes.
Fire station. Okay. And let's see what else we have here. As you stated, there is a tentative scheduling for before the commissioners on May 8th, 2026 at 9:30 p.m. for that Lulo/Riccardi annexation to the city of Elyria. That's coming up. Coming up on May 12th, the Deepwood Lane concrete replacement bid opening at 7:30 p.m. And there'll be a debris management workshop on May 6, 2026, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the EMA offices. This workshop will cover the debris management basics as well as an overview of the August 6, 2024 tornado cleanup in Cuyahoga County and lessons learned. That's important. It's important with solid waste too. I know there's a little bit of overlap there. Solid waste has in the past, the district has put aside a certain amount of money for debris management in case of a storm, as far as a storm or flooding. And that it dovetails into that. So I think it's important to coordinate the two. And anything else? I can't think of anything else right now that I have listed. And anyone have anything else to bring forward? If not, we will move on to reports. Ambulance service, do we have anything further aside from the meeting coming up on the 30th?
No.
Sheriff Department, no one here from there. The fire prevention officer is not here. Zoning inspector, not here. Do we have anything on zoning?
The BZA just met last Wednesday. I think I don't remember what day they met.
I believe it was Wednesday.
Maybe a Wednesday, for the workshop players for a variance, and that was granted.
Okay.
And then the zoning commission, I know they had, who came in? It was Shagavac. It was, let me think.
Shagavac and the Getco
And
Station,
Getco, thank you.
Golden Acres.
There's so much that goes on here.
Yeah, those are
And-
the two that were approved.
Okay, and those were approved, yeah.
And then they had an informal.
Informal on the
for a
rezone.
proposal on
Right.
property on State Route 58 on the west side.
At the turnpike. The northwest corner of the turnpike and Route 58.
And I do know that Ryan's dealing with a couple of violations that we have here. I believe he had you guys sign some papers.
Yep.
So he talked to the two of the gentlemen today, but I'll let him bring you guys up to speed on that.
Okay.
When he's got more of a handle on what's going on.
Roads, parks, and cemeteries, Road Superintendent Smarsh. But before you go, I have to make sure you were listening. How many zeros were in that correspondence that I just read?
I was going to ask you that third set of zeros. Was there 3 zeros there?
Okay. Do you know what the total was?
No.
Okay, well, I just wanted to make sure you were listening, that's all. All right, anyway. Road, parks, and cemeteries.
I don't have much to bring up, just that mowing is in full session. Potholes are in full session. We have dumpster days this week, and all regular maintenance is on course.
How have the potholes been around the township? I know our old concrete, we have a lot of them, but I know on the other streets, are we finding any there, or?
No, there was a couple on Bechtel Road, some small stuff going on there. Other than Hidden Valley, it's good. A little bit over there, a couple of on Hemlock, but it was nothing, just minor there. But
Some of the older ones. How has Copper Creek been? Good?
yeah, yep, that's been just fine.
And then, all right. Trying to think anything else.
Contract
nothing else.
resolution. Salt contract. resolution.
Oh, yes. I believe I did have that salt contract resolution. We did have that. We've been working on getting another contract at the contract price for salt. I believe Neil has prepared a resolution, the gist of which the Amherst Township Board of Trustees shall participate in the Ohio Department of Transportation contract for road salt for the 2026-2027 winter use season, and shall sign the attached participation agreement and agrees to be bound by the terms and conditions of the contract. Section 2, the Amherst Township Road Superintendent, Mr. Kevin Smarsh, Administrator Linda Ashley, Fiscal Officer Christine Kitch are authorized to complete the online Ohio Department of Transportation Office of Contracts Purchasing Services winter use contract number 018-27, participation agreement for cooperative purchasing program of sodium chloride road salt, which should be completed by May 1st, 2026. Road Superintendent Schmarsh shall order 400 tons of road salt, and it's found determined that all actions of the trustees concerning and relating to the adoption of this resolution were adopted in an open meeting, et cetera, et cetera.
So moved.
Neil will move. Anybody? Second?
All right.
Okay, let me catch up with you. Any further discussion?
Yes, David. I just want to point out that ODOT did change some of the terms in the agreement. Nothing that's really detrimental to the township, and one item that is actually helpful for the township. Specifically, they're making it clear that if there's any issues that cause liability or concerns with the delivery, that's between the township and whoever ends up winning this bid. Don't be looking for ODOT to lobby on your behalf. But the biggest change was all previous agreements were always plus or minus 10%. And the difficulty was if you underestimated and then needed road salt, it was usually at a premium. If you overestimated, you had to find places for storage. Now, we're fortunate we've got a much larger salt shed than when I first started as a trustee, but I remember one year we even had an adjoining community asking if we could store their salt because we had an easy year. Well, you just never know what you're going to get, and Kevin can attest to that as far as salt. We did have early on, remember the shortage this year. So that comes and goes. So this plus or minus 15% versus the previous plus or minus 10% actually gives Kevin significant more leeway on this, but he still put in an estimate. He had asked for 400 ton this year, recognizing there may be potential of some additional roadway, but also some reduction in roadway that's salted. And I don't know, Kevin, that we've ever gone through a calculation of where the salt is, but I'm sure most of it is on our higher speed asphalt roads and the minimal amount in the concrete roads, hitting the intersections and sharp curves and whatnot. And you know where the problem areas are too to hit, where you have the water ejected onto the road, which actually water does what it does when the temperature drops at 32 degrees and below. I just want to point that out. The terms of the contract have changed a bit. Nothing that I see detrimental to us, just ODOT trying to make things clear and addressing issues. And then the advantage is we now have plus or minus 15%. And Chris, in the editing, I see I dropped the resolution number line off the header.
That's okay.
This would be what?
4-3.
4-3.
We still need roll call then.
Hold on. I got two questions for Kevin. How much room do we have? Wait, go back a step. How much does our salt shed hold about, approximately in tons?
If you pack it in there, you get about 800.
800 tons. So that would be twice of what we were ordering, right?
Yes.
How much room is in there now that we've got our last load going into the summer? How much?
Right now, you could get about 650 in there.
650 tons?
Yes.
Okay. All right, my question, just as a thought, what if we started earlier ordering our salt for next year? So we don't get in a pinch. You get some bad weather and everybody's using salt, and of course everybody runs out at the same time, and everybody wants salt at the same time, and they can't do it. So try to get ahead of the power curve on that, maybe get ahead, order some earlier in the fall.
Well, the past couple of years, I have ordered
Okay.
in the same year, and it's almost like trying to keep your hands out of the cookie jar when you have that salt.
Right.
I mean, I know where you're coming from, and I agree, but you really got to save that salt for ice. I mean, that when you're getting down there and you got some snow going on and you're plowing off, most of the storms that we had, we were plowing off. We weren't even salting while the snow was happening, just because it was getting down. We got down to about 80 ton at one point, but I had it ordered, but they were
They were backed up.
Yeah. Um, like I said, you got to save it for that ice. 'Cause when that ice comes, we're in bad shape, let alone anybody else driving. But, to what you ask of, when the salt's there and, you start spreading a little bit more when maybe you didn't have to because you have such an amount there, but no, I know what you're saying. And I have ordered, because my first 5 years here, I wouldn't order until after the first of the year. Definitely had more salt at the time, but, like that, December of 16, we had some nasty ice storms, and we were going through. We had 600 ton in there to start. 16, that's when we had that abundance. 15 was so mild, and the beginning of 16 was so mild. But yeah, I know what you're saying. I'll definitely get some ordered for the end of this year.
Yeah, we've actually, David, Kevin's been on board, has reduced the amount of salt usage that we have. Kevin had made some recommendations years back, which saves us some money, and it was not detrimental to safety whatsoever, and made us more compliant with the EPA MS4 Phase 2 requirements in terms of
To reduce
spreading
the
salt.
amount of salt getting into the surface water from
Right.
road salting.
Yep. So it
Okay.
saved us money without sacrificing safety, because in the past, most road crews, when in doubt, salt. Salt, the more salt, the better. Well, that's not necessarily true, and, it doesn't really necessarily improve safety, but particularly on the concrete roads, though it affects the asphalt also, it expedites the degradation of the
Well-
roadways, which is even more cost. You were just talking about potholes before.
Yeah. Well, let's see here. Okay, do we have anything else
No.
come up, Kevin? Okay, next item, seniors.
Should we do
I
roll
do
call?
Oh, roll call, we need roll call.
Lynch?
Yes,
Yes.
Watson?
Yes.
Euring?
yes. And I was just thinking to myself, I don't want to miss roll call on this.
I need that,
David has the form there to sign. If you
Yes.
sign and date that, you can give it to Chris,
and I have to scan it and put it in with the,
Okay.
and you can mark the
Okay,
resolution
next-
number Chris has on there, David.
Yes,
Amherst Township Resolution 4326.
gotcha, we'll get that on there. All right, senior
Can you give it
service.
to Chris so she doesn't miss
Yes,
it?
I will sign it too. I was going to move on there.
you can take 2
Neil?
seconds and sign it, so I have.
Yeah, okay, senior services and township administrator.
Sign your paper, David. OPWC bid openings went into the Chronicle on 4/8, and I do have a hard copy of that. Kevin, I believe you got a couple phone calls from some contractors asking about bid books already, so Sean has those ready. Morgan is certified for OSHIP, so she can do the Medicare counseling. The MOU for the stormwater mini grant that you talked about earlier, I did send that over to Don, and is it Alex or Alexa?
Alexandria.
Alexandria. I sent it over to her. Also, she responded that they did receive it and that she would be processing it. So as soon as we get a check, if you could let me know, Chris. That's about it. Just
there's-
standard paperwork stuff.
You know what OSHIP is?
Roughly.
Senior Health Insurance Program.
Sorry, I talk in
Oh,
acronyms.
ship?
OSHIP, OSHIIP.
Yes, that's something else, but that. All right. ADA compliant website.
That's Georgianne is working on that.
Georgianne is working on that. I believe sent something there's something in here as far as NRT Emerge. Lisa Akers from New Russia Township provided me with the cost for their website, which is provided by Emerge. Because their website was created years ago, I do not have a comparison of the build cost. Build cost estimate for iPanda is $1821.60, which includes an 8% discount. That is our second quote. He said, Emerge. Okay. their amount, which appears to be more than I panned, and that's as much as I will say at this time because it's dealing with quotes. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think we need another one? Would you like to try another quote, or?
Absolutely not, David.
No.
It's 4-to-1 difference here, and we're chasing pennies while we're wasting dollars on this.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's something we want to get taken care of.
If
Right.
you're going to ask for
We've
another
got till
quote,
April.
you go get the quote.
No, I just wanted, I'm asking the board what the board's thoughts are. Okay, you don't want another quote, Jeremy?
Jeremy, if you want to
Yeah.
go get another
Yeah.
quote, go get one.
Yeah, no, these kind of things, it's same as I run my businesses, you kind of hand it over to somebody who's ever
Right.
in charge of it, let them do it, make the decision, and then we can look at it,
But this
I mean-
wasn't, my thing is I would rather wait till closer to the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth, because this was not budgeted for. So I don't want to run
Well,
short
that we can do because,
Yeah.
but we got to meet that deadline.
of
and give
April
them
of
time.
next year.
Yeah, we want it, well,
So
That would be my only, just to
But we
make
can
sure we
tell-
are good money-wise.
Yes.
we can tell the vendor
Yes.
that we're committed, but
But with
You wanna
with it
wait
not
till the
being
third
budget-
quarter.
At least the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth.
you can work with Georgianne, Chris, and just tell her
'cause,
when.
Yeah, without it being budgeted.
Yeah. I'll let you guys come up with a date on that, but I just don't want us spending more money on something that's a smaller expenditure. It just starts getting frustrating. All right, thank you.
personally, I've got no problems with iPad. I can't think of anything there. I know what Jeremy's thoughts are. I don't know what the rest of the staff is. You've got to work with it. As long as we can get control of what we put, as long as we have control of our content and what we get put up as ADA compliant.
That's the first thing. Eventually, Linda, you're going to be learning how to manage the website too, which we've discussed at your last review. And you can decide how much you share and work with Morgan, so we have cross-training there, and can eventually start, we'll have 3 people that can, but you still have to maintain control of it. But I know you guys all talk, but try and move Georgianne out of it to eventually be able to take it over fully.
Well, do we make I would make a resolution that, if you feel, if the board's comfortable with this proposal, accept the proposal.
I'm fine with it.
Okay. Make a motion then to accept the proposal for the website, ADA compliant website.
With
How
Chris's,
about- Accept
Stipulation.
iPanda proposal.
how do you want that
for
written, Chris, with, at the end
ADA
of-
compliant website,
Authorized proposal from
accept, or ADA compliant website.
website.
You want to just put, once you're ready, Chris, with the target implementation of third quarter
That's what I said, to be
or
completed
later,
end of third quarter or beginning of fourth quarter 2026.
or just say third quarter or later. But we know we got to meet that deadline, that's, statutory.
I'll second it.
Website to be completed end of third quarter or later 2026. Jeremy, second, and who?
David made the motion.
And
Okay,
I
got it.
think, put in build cost, 1,820, 160. one question, I have to shout to the back room.
I would just do the addendum,
Oh.
or the paperwork that I have,
The addendum?
yeah.
Okay, the addendum, and this is the addendum. All right. All right.
With all the other paperwork, though, I would include that.
Yeah, all right, good enough. Well, motion been made, and then second?
Euring,
Yes?
Watson?
Yes.
Lynch.
Yes.
Okay, so we're all set there.
Do we have a
Thank-
number?
Pardon?
It is 4-4.
Thank you.
Yep, that's where we're at. Trustee reports. Jeremy, do you have anything to bring forward at this time?
Yeah, I got a couple of things. So one, and this is something I wanted to talk to you about, Kevin. I know a lot of these municipalities, they have this beautification day. It's usually in the middle of May. Is that something you think would be helpful with the parks if we got volunteers from around the community to come in and pick up garbage or help with mulching or anything like that?
Yeah, I've been involved with that when I first came around here, and it ends up, the time that I was putting into with the meeting, set up this, set up that, with any projects or whatever, where I came down to it with what we had going on at the township. Every day's Pride Day at the township. We're always picking up the trash.
Yeah.
We're all, so if there was a project, that was one thing. And if anybody wanted to spearhead that,
Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to
Okay.
join along.
Okay, cool. Yeah, just like maybe a Saturday, one thing for a couple hours, and anybody that wants to come in and help out. And then it would just be a matter of coming up, what exactly are those projects? I don't know that there's that much. I know there's a lot of garbage around the township on the sides of roads and stuff, but if we're doing it in the parks, I don't know if there would be a project that you think if we got a handful of volunteers together that,
Yeah, I'd take
You
a
have, yeah, you have a
look.
group of volunteers ready. Let me tell you what we've done in the past.
Yes.
We did exactly what you're suggesting on a Saturday,
Mhm.
down in the parks. That's where we focused. We have 4 corner gardens down there. We also have the potential up at Workshop Players. We put a second one to eventually be a garden. But it tended to be myself, my wife, anytime one other trustee,
Yeah.
the road crew, a couple of people right down there that live near the park that were always involved. They've aged out. In a few years, we would get the Girl Scouts, and there was an Indian group at one time, but they were younger kids that come down and help, and give them a project to work on. The difficulty was it tended to be the same people till they, once they age out of an organization, and now we've lost the people that were the strong volunteers from our township. How do you get those people in there without creating a lot of cost? So Jeremy, if you've got people, that's
Yeah.
great. They gotta be willing to show up and do it, and realize you'll fight the weather, because Kevin would get the loads of mulch, we'd have plants to dress it up. Usually we're asking people to bring tools. We did have a couple of people that lived on Hidden Valley Drive would bring in tools, but it's usually, I'm bringing my tools and trying to instruct people, when you're done with this, you bring it back to me, okay, and how to use it. So, it'd be wonderful if we can get that done, but it's not, always easy.
Right.
But that's usually what was done. It also doesn't have to be on Pride Day.
Yeah.
The advantage of having Pride Day is that the solid waste district will provide things like bags if you need to pick stuff up, and some gloves, some minor items to help people. So that is the advantage. As far as the roadways, and this goes on and off, you might want to have some discussions with Sheriff Jack Hall, because this is where we would never do it in our parks, but we take care of that ourselves. But we've had in the past, I know when we worked with Sheriff's Committee, we would actually get the locals from the local county jail, those that weren't a major problem, to actually go out on a road crew and pick up the trash along the roads. I don't think they've done that for some time, but that was the usual way. Get those guys out of the prison, give them something to do, and they're guys that aren't going to flee. People you realize in their situation, they understand. This gives them some free time outside. They do a community service, but at the end of the day, they're going back to jail. So perhaps Jack Hall will resurrect that situation, but there's a cost to the sheriff in doing that, because somebody's got to be out there with them.
Yeah.
And they don't always have that extra person available to oversee that.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that's something, especially like if it's planting trees somewhere or something, we could get some PR behind it, I'm sure, get a group there, so. If there's a project, if there's not much to do and it's not worth it, we don't have to, but. Yeah,
Well, they
something.
can redo the few dead arborvitae out here. I mean, you see what's been done here at the town. Most of these, some of them are Eagle Scout projects too, that we've had. Same thing, some at the ball field, but I think Linda had a comment, because she's been involved over time too.
As far as the park, the four gardens, which can be very beautiful, but we don't have water down there for people to access to keep them watered. So it would have to be something that would be extremely drought tolerant. That
Okay.
wouldn't require any care. And then you have the ongoing maintenance of weeding.
Right.
And a lot
Right.
of times the people come in and they do it one time, and then the weeding is left to Kevin and
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
update and the upcare.
We used to have one garden that a couple took care of pretty good, but again, they're
They would bring the water from their house because they backed up to the park.
Yeah. Something that I know some other townships have done too is community gardens where, somebody's renting it, it might be $20 for the year or whatever. And then we would find somebody in the, a master gardener in the community or somebody who was in charge of it. And yeah, they, if it goes a week without getting weeded, there'd have to be some, stipulations and a little contract that they would sign. But especially somebody without the yard, if it was like, that was their little garden and they maintained it, it kind of.
last time we did anything with the garden was with the Amherst schools. It never came to materialize, but it was at that time the superintendent was Steve Sayers. I'm not going to mention the individual that was pushing it, who was a township resident at the time. She no longer is, but she worked for the schools. And she was trying to get something more for the students that had no experience with growing their own vegetables to do it. And we took them around every township-owned property that they could use it. Ultimately, because of the cost of transport, watering the whole bit, they ended up not following through. But it wasn't something we were going to be expending resources on here, other than just like we do with baseball. Here it is, you maintain it, you pay for this, we take care of the bleachers, we take care of cutting the grass, treating the grass, picking up the garbage, but the rest is on you.
Well,
Okay?
what
You gotta
you
have
see,
skin
it's
in
a
the game.
commitment. It's not just a project, it's a commitment, and many times it's for the whole year at least. And you have to find people who are not only willing to volunteer, but to make that commitment for the whole year. It's going to be more than just once.
Yeah,
So,
none of
if you
them are
put a
too
little
easy.
flower garden in, you got to maintain it, you got to weed it, you got
Right.
to do things, and then you got to decide whether you want to do it next year or whatnot.
Yeah.
There are things that can be done.
Okay.
That
But
can be
other
done,
than our
and,
two manufactured home parks, David,
yeah.
most people here, if they're gonna do a garden, they're putting it in their
A lot of
backyard.
people have it in their yard.
And I know Elyria ran into trouble, people they had a community garden, it got to the point no one was using it, it was full of weeds, they bulldozed it over, and then some strongly opinionated people that lobbied for it in the first place, when they got pretty vicious about what happened, but it's, you couldn't fault the city, it's like, nobody's using it,
Yeah.
it's full of weeds.
Okay.
So it's just something to consider.
Yeah, we'll explore it. Maybe we'll just walk around and play with some ideas. I even wonder if we could get some rain barrels worked into the pavilion. Are there downspouts down there?
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, maybe we could get some water down there somehow or whatever, but we'll play with some ideas. Yeah, we don't have to take up too much time.
absolutely.
And then I was starting to explore more of this Metro Park idea at the old Golden Acres. So I spoke with a contact at the Metro Parks who said she thought that they had passed on it. Then I talked to Jim. I had a good conversation with Jim Zemanek, and he's definitely for it if it can
You have
come
to get his board to approve too.
Right.
And there's a lot of, we got between the Board of Commissioners, Lorraine County Port Authority, City of Amherst,
Right.
and Amherst Township.
Right.
And ultimately, who the developer is that.
Okay, so that I'll have a question about, but I called Mark Costello, had a good conversation with him, and he's 100%,
Oh, yeah.
wants to have parks in there. I called Armbruster's office, and I got a call back from Karen, and the way she made it sound, it wasn't like so much the commissioners as the Port Authority.
Right.
So then I called Jim Miller. He didn't have a voicemail set up. I did leave a message with his secretary as well. So hopefully he can kind of get all the players involved and see if that's something.
The Board of Commissioners will, Karen may not be aware of it, the Board of Commissioners still owns, I think it's about a 5-acre parcel
saw
over
that.
there.
Yeah.
And when I had talked with one of the commissioners, they felt that was just a mistake and probably should be with the Port Authority.
Okay.
But it's not with the location a saleable piece, and I would prefer they not do that, where then somebody grabs it, develop it, or that let the commissioners keep it so they can be part of it at the right time. If the Metro Parks agrees, then they can give to the Port Authority. The reason they have to do that, if they didn't give to the Port Authority, then they have to go through putting it up for public auction or public bid to sell
That's
that.
better.
We don't want to get into
Yeah.
that situation.
And City of Amherst actually has some parcels. right
Yes,
in
they've
that
got a
creek
remainder
too.
parcel that they weren't aware of, and the Mark Coslow and one of their council people, Brian Dembinski, has received all that information. I know Mark provided it to their full council, it might be 2 years ago, Jeremy, but we provided the information here at the township, and ultimately, that's what we'd like to see. The township's involved because most of the land is in the township, but the biggest benefactor is actually going to be the city of Amherst.
Okay.
I've talked with one of the developers that is interested in developing that property, but it's a matter of, how much somebody willing to offer and what the Port Authority is willing to accept. And that developer is willing to contribute, but naturally the developer is of the opinion, well, if we contribute, we want to make sure those funds go to that area so that their development benefits. And obviously, with parks, that'll help for that development, that they get usage. So if they're adding up money, they want to make sure we're not spending it somewhere else, like down at the Middle Ridge Road Park.
So when we're talking about a developer coming in, that would be on the Port Authority's land? Okay.
Right.
But is there any drawings or anything, like how much they're trying to develop and how much we can?
It'd only be on the flat portion that's up there on the former Golden Acres property right now.
More
Yeah.
up by where the Circle K is going?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so basically where Circle K is and along North Ridge. So all of that area is currently in our joint economic development district with the city of Amherst.
So there's no way of just conserving the whole property without a developer
No, that's
coming
what
in?
we originally wanted to do, and that didn't work out. So the Port Authority has it. The Port Authority, they're not going to give away anything free, especially in today's economic environment. So this is where the advantage would be working with the developer, because not only do you get the economic advantage of increased property tax, which generates revenue for the township, but that developer might be willing to contribute, assuming the Metro Parks comes in, because the Metro Parks comes in, the discussion I had with Jim Zemanek in the past, we would like to make sure that it's not just conserved area, it's conserved area that people can use. And to really use that, we would like to see a nice walking trail going through that. Well, if you walk that property, it has some significant physical features that will require some bridging over water areas. Then you've got the safety issue of bridging across North Ridge, and you would be interconnecting from basically from I think it's the Ridgeland development in Amherst, but from Park Avenue all the way through, because that's where the city of Amherst owns their property in that development. Then you go through the commissioner's property, you could get to Golden Acres and all the way down to 58, because you cut down where Marilyn Jenny already willed property to the Metro Parks. Then you would go down to State Route 58 to interconnect with your commercial corridor. And it'd be a great thing for residents and kids and the whole bit when they were putting in that new development on North Dewey Road in the city. And they had sent to the township they needed to widen the road to accommodate a turn lane. I talked with the engineer from Bramhall Engineering about, hey, don't do anything to prevent a potential crossing there, and particularly if we can get it under the road. He didn't think that they aren't going to cause a problem there, but he didn't think that at this time they'd be able to do that from a technical standpoint. I don't necessarily agree with that, but it wasn't the point to go through the merits, but ultimately it'd be nice if the Metro Parks agrees to this, and Jim needs the board to agree, is that you can put either one that's supported from the ground level or one that is a hanging type bridge, and now no child, no person has to cross North Ridge. They go right underneath. And from what I've seen, I've been over there at the worst possible rainstorms. I mean, I've walked down, I even took videos. I eventually had to delete them from my phone because I had consuming too much memory. I don't see that water ever getting high enough to interfere with an underroad crossing there for safety. Now, will people possibly get some dripping from the road on their head if it's wet? Maybe, but if that's the case, you put in a canvas cover or something that's low cost, just so that you don't, just like walking through the railroad bridges in Amherst right now. If you go through when it's wet, sometimes you're going to get dripped on. Well, that can be accommodated, but that is what the concept is overall.
Okay.
But the Port Authority will not give that up, and neither would the Board of Commissioners agree with that as being free.
Yeah.
And then there's the potential for, the thing that people really got excited about was the sledding hill. And that's more an emotional thing because you look at the number of days you can use that sledding hill. You're lucky if 5 days out of the year it gets used. And in the discussion I had with the potential developer, and I know there were two interested, they're even willing to reconstruct the sledding hill, but I think the potential is even better on the property that Marilyn Jenny left to the Metro Parks, is putting it over there, and there's a bigger area in the hill. There's already a hill. It may need some reprofiling. Obviously, if you have a development, that gives you the extra soils to do that. And now you've got a sledding hill over on one side, and possibly you may want to just leave it a gravel parking lot to conform with EPA MS4 requirements. But now you've got the sledding hill, and it's not just a sledding hill because you'll have that whole open area, but you put it to some recreation, another recreational avenue that people can use. And it'll tie into what people's historical, their memories are. It's just the sledding hill may be in a different location, and much better than the sledding hill they had.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Do you have anything else to bring forward to the board, Neil?
No, and that was Jeremy. I was just letting Jeremy know the history on this.
Okay.
I've had discussion with Jeremy for your information just after one of our meetings that I'm hoping to turn this over to him fully. And I know that Councilman Brian Dubinsky is very interested in it. I also know a resident that's even willing to donate funds towards it, but obviously he's not going to pay for the full amount, but he'd be willing to help if the Metro Parks is willing to work with all the different entities on it.
Okay. Hopefully hear back from Port Authority and keep it moving.
Okay. I have nothing to bring forward under reports at this time. Do we have anything under complaints or corrective action? Anything outstanding? Kevin, you have anything under complaints? Linda, do we have anything under complaints?
Nope.
The office? Nothing else. Unfinished business? I have nothing further to bring forward. Nothing under new business. Our next meeting is scheduled for 2 weeks from tonight, Tuesday, April 28th at 7 p.m. here at the Amherst Township Hall. Our work session would be called as needed. Once again, there is no audience concerns. Do we have any need for an executive session?
That's up to you and Jeremy, David.
Do you think we need anything right now? We will probably have an executive session on the 28th, is the way it's looking right now. I have nothing else to bring forward. Nothing else needs action at this time. That being the case, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Watson?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Euring?
Maybe. No. Yes. Yes,